Ambassador Detrani, thank you as always for joining us with your expertise when it comes to North Korea and so many other things in Asia. I want to talk to you today about this decision that we've heard about by Russia to buy weapons from North Korea. What do you think of that decision, and how will those weapons serve Russia?
Well, I'm not surprised with the decision that Putin has made to buy weapons from North Korea. I mean, you know, it seems like Russia's hurting with the Ukraine war, and they need some assistance. And you know, it's almost tragic to say they're looking to North Korea, a country they provided weapons to going back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, going to North Korea to buy rockets and ammunition for their Soviet systems. It's pretty ironic when you think of it, but it's somewhat understandable given the long-term relationship Russia has had with North Korea, starting with Stalin and Kim Il-sung for the Korean War.
Well, what about the reliability of these weapons? We talk to you all the time about, you know, Russia's, or rather nuclear, or North Korea's nuclear ambitions, their nuclear program and their missile systems. And, you know, going back a number of years, we've seen a number of spectacular failures. I'm not sure what kind of weapons Russia's buying from North Korea, but do they have a track record of reliability?
I think the North Koreans do have a track record of reliability. I think their rockets, the Scuds, the short-range ballistic missiles, even the intermediate-range ballistic missiles, are reliable. They may not have the best engineering. They may not, you know, look as great as, you know, as some of the engineering skills we and our allies have, but those rockets do work. And I think the Russians are looking to purchase those rockets, whether they be Scud, short-range ballistic missiles, or whether they be the other weapons, to include you know, artillery shells, etc. I think they do work. I think the North Koreans are pretty good at maintaining those systems.
So they're not getting precision weapons from North Korea. They're just getting, would you say that these are still Soviet era weapons they're buying, or are these modern weapons?
You know, I think this is these are basically, my understanding is, based on the media reporting, these are Soviet systems. These are Soviet weapon systems that North Korea has purchased many, many years ago, decades ago, and they've maintained, and they're now for sale. I mean, in exchange for, you know, natural gas or oil or wheat to provide to Russia for Russia's use in Ukraine.
And that's one of the big concerns. These Soviet era weapons are not precise. They're not precision weapons. And this is one of the big concerns about what Russia's been doing anyway in Ukraine, is that they've been firing a lot of weapons and they've been killing civilians. Some of this has to do with the fact that we've been told, sources have been telling me, that this is deliberate on the Russians' part. But the fact that they're actually having to go buy these North Korean weapons says a lot about where they are. And again, as you mentioned, this helps North Korea out. So as you look at this particular situation, do you see this impacting, I guess, relations between North Korea and South Korea and others on the Korean Peninsula in that have relations or concerns about relations with North Korea? And I guess the short way of saying this, I'm kind of rambling around this, stumbling around this. Forgive me for not being as up to date on this as I should be. How is this going to impact relations between all the parties in that region?
I think this is significant. I think what North Korea is doing with Russia is very significant. This is a recent manifestation, if you will, the rockets and the weaponry that the Russians are purchasing from North Korea in exchange for reportedly, you know, wheat and natural gas and oil, things that North Korea needs. So this complements each other. This is what they need. But it speaks to something else. It speaks to North Korea doubling down on its relationship with Russia. And you know what they've reportedly, not reportedly, but they've also have a relationship, diplomatic relationship, with Donetsk, if you will, the autonomous region in Ukraine, and Luhansk, another autonomous region in Ukraine that has broken away from the government of Ukraine. And North Korea has not only recognized them, but reportedly is prepared to send workers and maybe even send military, you know, if you will, militia types to support the Russians and these breakaway provinces that are now autonomous regions, if you will.
Wow. Ambassador, and for folks that aren't familiar with you, and there are very few of those people on the planet that are not familiar with the work that you've done, but we have new younger people who join us and watch this. Ambassador Joe Detrani was the special envoy from the U.S. to the six-party talks with North Korea, and he's been a longtime scholar of North Korea's activities and its wars, et cetera. This, to me, as you said, Ambassador, is significant.
Right.
I mean, this is very significant. If they are going to possibly consider sending troops or
Right.
sending workers,
Right.
either to Russia or to those autonomous, so-called autonomous regions
Right.
in Ukraine, then this could seem like more of a step towards a world war or a bigger war, shall we say.
I couldn't agree more with that, JJ. There's no question about that. And I think this fits in very nicely with Putin's strategy also. I mean, he's, you know, obviously China has been supportive of Russia in their if you will, their encroachment, their war, their invasion of Ukraine and the war that's going on. But China hasn't been overly forthcoming in supplying the weaponry and other means that I would think Putin is looking for. So Putin has doubled down on the DPRK, if you will, North Korea, going back again to Stalin and Kim Il-sung, going way back to the Korean War, where Russia, right from the beginning, has been a major supporter of North Korea with the Korean War, but also with their missile programs, with their nascent nuclear programs in the 1980s, giving them a research reactor, et cetera. So Russia's been a very major player. It was the Soviet Union then, now it's the Russian Federation now, but it's North Korea and Russia coming together in a very meaningful way. And for North Korea, this is a smart move. They've got one of the 5, if you will, permanent members of the Security Council of the United Nations who will be very supportive of North Korea's needs, to include their energy needs, their food needs, in addition to China. And you know, and this is also North Korea sort of balancing that relationship between China and Russia, showing China also that they're not just totally dependent on China, they have Russia.
Again, this is extremely significant, and it's disturbing too when you think the people that could least afford to be forced to go into a war
Right.
In that area are probably North Koreans.
Yes.
I mean, because they have to do what Kim Jong-un tells them. And they, I mean, we know what's happening in Ukraine. Russian soldiers are being slaughtered, essentially, just as they are slaughtering civilians. But when you look at Russia's casualty toll, the UK says today, this is the 6th of September, that 25,000 Russian troops have been killed. Ukraine says it's more like 50,000. But what Ukraine is saying, rather what the UK is saying, is that 25,000 troops have been killed, Russian troops. Another something like 50-some thousand are injured or have deserted. So this is not a war that's going Russia's way. So
Exactly.
basically bringing in other people to be cannon fodder.
Yes.
I just have to wonder if North Korea is aware of this or if they even care.
I think North Korea is aware of it. I think North Korea is prepared to do it. I think they're doing it for a price. That's the support of the Russia and the United Nations, but that's also giving them the, if you will, the energy needs that they have, and the food situation is pretty dire in North Korea with floods and drought. So yeah, I think this is a very calculated move on the part of Kim Jong-un. knowing that Putin is up against the ropes and is in need, and he's prepared to provide it. I think it will be interesting to see, indeed, if North Korea does provide troops. I think they'll provide the workers because they need the foreign resources. They need the currency that will come from that. But to provide, if you will, militias, to provide fighters who will be on the battlefield with the Russians, I think that's very significant. And I think Kim Jong-un is prepared to do it. Again, it's Kim Jong-un doubling down on Russia. And it's not only a message to China that, you know, they have both. It's really a message to the United States and to the Republic of Korea, South Korea, that they're no longer going to be totally dependent, and they're not going to be seeking negotiations. They have another path, and they've chosen that other path, and that path is with Russia and China. That is unfortunate, because that means we're going to see North Korea building more of a nuclear capability, more of a missile capability, but being more adventuresome, as we possibly will be seeing in Ukraine.
Well, Ambassador Joe Detrani, thank you again for that disconcerting but very enlightening dialogue today on this situation.
Thank you, JJ.
Russia now looking at buying weapons from North Korea, and North Korea considering possibly sending workers and troops there. That is very disconcerting. But thank you again, Ambassador.
Thank you, JJ.